Okay, a quick part two to my fear. Fear regarding the seeker. And I think it's really important as I picked up the a point from my last video, the part one, building psychic self-esteem, which I don't know if people are comfortable with the term psychic. I just threw it in there as a catch-all. So let's not debate the words, but psychic self-esteem, I think, is a concept for all of us to consider. Getting a little more confidence in your ability to deal with the other side and the mysteries, and with kids, especially with regards to Halloween and growing up and everything in general. So what kind of fears do we have as far as the seeker goes? I would say fear of spirits, fear of projection. For some, I didn't put it here, but some are probably a lingering fear of religion and the connotations of doing anything other than subscribing to their religion. Fear of the void. And let's talk about those three first. The fear of spirits. Well, spirits are just like people as far as I'm concerned. I said this over and over again in many of my videos. They're just like people in the street as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, people in the street, there may be some pretty evil people on the street, who might want to mug and knife me or mass murderer. Chances are they're pretty limited, though. There's not many serial murders that you'll meet on the street, thank God. And you may go on the street and talk to a random individual, and you may find this person is extremely wise. He may be wiser than any guru or anything. I've met people like that. People who are just extremely wise in their own. That's kind of what I hope that. Well, there's another show. It's supposed to be regular everyday people. You meet at the gas pump. But then it really wasn't. They only did really high-profile people. I really wish there was a show like that about, I don't know how you do it, low-profile people. The guy you met in the trailer park who just talked your head off, and had some really deep conversations with people, when I was working, people I'd meet on the job sometimes. There's been two or three that are just remarkable conversations. Anyways, so to me, fear of spirits, it's just like going on the street. You can be afraid of people on the street. Well, there's a good respect to be afraid of some people on the street. You don't want to put everything on a billboard, wear it around your neck on a billboard, all your social security number and phone number and all your personal information, But you got to temper things with reason. Is it a reasonable fear? Am I not going to go to the grocery store because somebody's going to mug me in the parking lot? Well, they probably aren't going to mug me in the parking lot. I can probably go to the grocery store safely. So, really, fear of spirits, just fear of people, it's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. Fear of projection. People fear that if they do get out of their body, they'll not be able to get back in, they'll die, or just the whole process is scary. And it is. There's two sides to this kind of fear, though. There's the fear of doing it. There's also something a lot of people call fear, which I really don't. I think it's a separate category. And that is being jolted or blinking or interrupted practice. Like you're meditating, you feel like you're going to leave the body, or you've got this big light that you're receiving, this light, and all of a sudden you blink inwardly, as a friend would say. A friend used to tell me, no, you blink when I lost the light, when I lose the light like that. And I say, I get this light, and it's just gone all of a sudden. So, well, you blinked. Which, is useful as far as it goes, but it's not really fear. It's more of a protective reaction. It's kind of related to fear, I suppose, but it's more on the physical, keep wanting to say visceral level. So yeah, is that a self-protective reflex, or is it really fear? And the one I've kind of skipped over here, fear of the void. Before I go too much further, fear of the void. I guess it can be a real fear. It can be a productive fear, or it can be a real fear. It can be a productive impulse, or it can be a real fear of just facing nothingness, facing the dark, black nothingness of the void. And some books and writers have talked about the void in a way that, to me, is counterproductive, because they make it scary. You know, they say why it's scary. You don't have to tell people why it's scary to be in the void. And anybody who's really practiced meditation for a while loses that fear and actually kind of ends up loving the void. You know, I love the void. I love being able to get in that state of getting meditation, that nice, cool, quiet spot. It's like the pond, you know, or as Casey was talking about, a puddle, you know. It's kind of like a pond you keep your foot into that you can always slip back into. So don't fear the void, you know, embrace it. There's nothing more peaceful, nothing more soothing, you know, downright soothing to shut off the noise sometimes, shut off the clamor, and just be nothing for a minute. I find the void just wonderful, fascinating, a relief, an oasis. Certainly nothing to be scared of. So working with fear and working with reflex, and how to minimize them. I guess fear, you just have to face your fear. You have to think through it. You have to face it directly and go through it. Why am I really afraid of this or that? And you have to work it mentally, is what I'm saying at that point. So working with reflex, that's something I'm working on as well. I could use some suggestions from anybody who has them. I think what it's going to be is finding a practice that does get you to that flinch point where you're starting to get light in, or where you're starting to make the jump. I guess you just have to keep with that practice, maybe not that session, but keep doing the same thing over again that brings you to that point, and having prepared yourself in advance, mentally and emotionally, for the shock of the change that may happen. Recently I did some and I've done this for decades, you know, stare at a speck in the ceiling type. I have a speck meditation video about this. But, you know, stare at a speck in the ceiling, and I've done that so many hours and so many times that just the other day I was doing it, and the whole ceiling just, boom, changed angle. The lighting of the room didn't change. I didn't hear a pop. No change of the sound, no change of the lighting, no change of anything. Just the ceiling, all of a sudden, perspective just swung down a little bit. Like I'm looking at instead of looking at the ceiling up here, I'm looking at this like angled ceiling, and it freaked me out. You know, maybe I was out at that moment, and maybe I could have stayed out and had, you know, a great projection type exercise there. But I was jolted, you know, and that little bit of adrenaline was spiked. It took me right out of it. And I couldn't even go back into meditation after that, or my eyes were watering when I was trying to stare at the spot again, you know, and it just wasn't happening at that point. So I'm working with it too, you know, what do you do with the jolt? And again, I don't really think of the jolt as fear, at least not on the mental level. Maybe we can call it fear on the physical level, you know, if reaction, caution, reflex is really fear. I think it's best called reflex rather than fear. You have to calm those reflexes by just, I guess, just going to the same point, preparing yourself mentally and emotionally for the shock, so that when it happens, maybe you can let it pass without having a physical adrenaline spurt.